You are tuned to the Indraprasth channel of Akashvani. Today is International Day for Dialogue Among Civilizations. It is in this backdrop that we now bring you a talk entitled Dialogue Fosters Understanding by Mr. Pankaj Fanase, a research scholar from the School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University.
Namaskar. Today, on the International Day for Dialogue Among Civilizations, we celebrate the enduring power of dialogue to build understanding. The International Day for Dialogue Among Civilizations, observed on June 10 each year, was proclaimed by the United Nations in 2010 to honor the first ever Dialogue Among Civilizations conference held in Madrid in 2001. Former Iranian President Mohammad Khatami introduced the idea of dialogue among civilizations as a response to Samuel P. Huntington's theory of clash of civilizations. The term was initially used by Austrian philosopher Hans Kochler, who in 1972, in a letter to UNESCO, had suggested the idea of an international conference on the dialogue between different civilizations, and had organized in 1974 a first international conference on the role of intercultural dialogue. Its purpose is to remind all nations that genuine, sustained conversation across cultural, political, and social divides is essential to prevent conflict, reduce prejudices, and build more inclusive societies. By designating this date, the UN seeks to encourage governments, institutions, and individuals to foster mutual understanding, recognizing that when people of diverse backgrounds meet in respectful dialogue, they can discover common values, find creative solutions to global challenges, and strengthen the bonds that sustain global peace and cooperation. India's own heritage is rich with traditions of dialogue and debate. In the great Upanishads, spiritual teachers and students engaged in probing question and answer sessions. The very word Upanishad means to sit down, evoking the image of pupil at the Guru's feet, learning through dialogue. The early Upanishads are among the oldest textual sources of the dialogic form of knowledge in India. These conversations, whether between Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi or Nachiket and Yama, were not dry lectures but dynamic exchanges aimed at resolving life's deepest questions together. Similarly, in Buddhist tradition, ancient councils such as those held at Rajgraha and Vaishali brought monks into discussions to clarify the Buddha's teachings. These gatherings were essentially peer-led dialogues to achieve consensus on doctrines and practices. India's civilizational heritage long recognized that wisdom and harmony grow not by silencing dissent but by engaging with it respectfully. This tradition continued in modern India's democratic experiment. The Constituent Assembly debates of the 1940s provide a striking example. In the assembly, leaders of many communities and regions engaged in lengthy, spirited discussions to create our constitution. Giving primacy to consensus building over majority of the votes, our constitution makers identified important role of dialogue in stronger and robust nation making. Across the world, dialogue has resolved conflicts and built new orders. Nelson Mandela's Truth and Reconciliation Commission in post-apartheid South Africa is one landmark example. Rather than seeking retribution, Mandela's government embarked on a year-long public dialogue about past abuses. Over 50 organizations joined in open consultation and debate on how to heal the nation. The result was a law creating in the TRC, that is, Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which publicly heard thousands of testimonies from victims and perpetrators. The process, painful as it was, generated understanding between divided communities and helped forge a unified national narrative. As one observer notes, it was born of a spirit of public participation and open dialogue, so that even the form of commission had broad legitimacy. Though difficult, it exemplified how hearing all voices can prevent cycles of conflict. Today, we continue to see dialogue at work on pressing global issues. In multilateral forums like the G20, leaders rely on discussions and compromise to produce joint action. In 2023, India's G20 presidency famously guided leaders of 20 countries to agree on an 83-point communique covering a wide array of issues from climate change and digital finance to food security. Consensus at such meeting is never guaranteed. Yet, through hundreds of hours of diplomacy, Prime Minister Modi and his team shepherded agreement on many contentious points, even welcoming the African Union into the G20. This rare success demonstrates that sustained conversation and patient negotiations can yield collective commitments even among very different nations. International meetings like climate summits, cultural conventions, and security dialogues also reminds us that dialogue remains indispensable. Scholars point out that in our interconnected world, no single country can solve challenges alone. We depend on forums where differences are aired and compromises found. Even as agendas grow more complex, the multilateral system endures because the nation recognizes that only by talking we can coordinate on issues like pandemic preparedness, cyber norms, or refugee crisis. In fact, the United Nations chose 24 April as the International Day of Multilateralism and Diplomacy for Peace, with the exact message that dialogue, diplomacy, and multilateral solutions provide the surest path to peaceful and just world. This global consensus underlines that the dialogue is a tool for progress and security at every level. Yet, we must also soberly acknowledge that the habit of dialogue faces challenges today. Across many societies, public discourse has become more polarized. Social media and sound bites can trap people in echo chambers, hearing only familiar views. Disagreements that used to be discussed over years now get shouted in hours. In some places, the careful art of listening has been weakened by mistrust, misinformation, and push to win arguments at all costs. This erosion of respectful exchange threatens to unravel the progress dialogue has built. Every culture, including India's, has valued the spirit of Sahitya and Samvad, the discourse of discovery. We remember that India's freedom fighters and thinkers held numerous dialogues to bridge old divisions. Around the world, there is also growing reflection on the need to reclaim dialogue, to train young people in debate and listening, to encourage media and politics to focus on issues over insults, and to foster spaces where diverse groups can talk respectfully. Throughout history, dialogue has been the furnace in which understanding is forged. From ancient rishis debating truth at sunrise to constituent assembly and to global leaders shaping consensus, each step forward was led by a conversation. Conversely, every conflict-ridden moment has been marked by a lack of conversation. As India's own heritage teaches us, and as our world today confirms, only by talking together and crucially by listening, we can realize our shared ideals of peace, justice, and prosperity. If we can bring others into genuine conversation across cultures, communities, and nations, we nurture understanding and goodwill. In doing so, we honor the great legacy of dialogue and help secure a future where humanity flourishes together in harmony and with mutual respect.
That was Mr. Pankaj Fanase speaking on the topic Dialogue Fosters Understanding in the backdrop of International Day for Dialogue Among Civilizations. This broadcast came to you from our Indraprasth channel of Akashvani.